Many Westerners often talk about Asia as one big monolithic region, but we know how diverse, how vast and how many cultures and different ethnic nationalities are right across the Asia-Pacific region. An example of this was recently with the tour of the American pop sensation Lady Gaga. In Japan, Lady Gaga was one of the world's first popular culture figures to visit Japan after the disaster of the tsunami and the earthquakes. She actually did a lot for Japanese morale after so many lives were lost and so much damage was occurring in Japan. However, recently in Indonesia, Lady Gaga was actually banned from coming for her tour to Jakarta and other venues in Indonesia. There was a view that some of Lady Gaga's outfits and designs were offensive to the local population. So quite clearly, when you think about Asia and you think about different cultural norms, Jakarta is not like Japan. And that's the same for a pop icon or for a business doing business either in Japan or in Indonesia. Now, some have said that the recent banning or gagging of Lady Gaga has been due to the outbreak of political nationalism in the lead up to the forthcoming presidential elections in Indonesia. There's a view that some of these bans and some of these positions have been a result of local politicians, governments and opposition, all jockeying for local vote and trying to show a bit of political and economic nationalism to the electorate. There is a view that perhaps this could affect international businesses coming to Indonesia, particularly from Australia. But when I spoke to some Indonesia watchers and some Australian businesses actually doing business in Indonesia, they said that despite some of the positioning that's occurring in the election and some of the local tariff changes, for the most part, they've actually found Indonesia a pretty good place to do business. For instance, Joseph Abraham of ANZ found that he'd been able to expand ANZ's branches in Indonesia from 2 to 28 in a matter of just 4 years, and that's at a rate that wouldn't occur in China or in India. He said the rate of return for doing business in Indonesia was close to 30% greater than other Asian economies. Similarly, Leighton's Justin Colling told me that while there's risk in Indonesia, the rates of return are also very, very high. And in his business, 80% of which is mining, he's also found infrastructure, although challenging, actually a very profitable business. Leighton's plays a very important role in educating their Indonesian staff, taking them back to Australia and also improving their skills and capabilities within Indonesia itself. Similarly, Orica's Greg Patching actually sends his staff also to Australia for further technical and cross-cultural training, and he's found the Indonesian workforce really raising productivity and providing very, very good value for the company's operations throughout Indonesia. Many companies like AgSpec, run by Andrew Glynn, an agricultural company, have also wanted to do more for corporate social responsibility in terms of education in Indonesia. AgSpec has signed up with the Liverpool Academy to help develop not only education but also soccer, football skills in West Java, particularly in parts of rural Java where there's little access to training facilities. Liverpool, with AgSpec, have actually played a very, very important role in raising opportunity for Javanese youth, particularly in the rural areas. And they've done it through football. And as the Liverpool legend Bill Shankly used to say, football is not a matter of life and death, it's much more important than that. And only Bill Shankly could say that. I've noticed how interesting the Australia-Indonesian trade and economic relationship has occurred throughout Indonesia's move to democracy and throughout the different economic times that Indonesia has experienced. I actually noticed the strength of the Australia-Indonesian relationship when I was the co-MC with Frida Ledwini of Metro TV at the Australian Alumni Awards in Jakarta last year. Many captains of industry in Indonesia, many leaders of the government in Indonesia, many creative artists in Indonesia are actually educated here in Australia at our universities. In fact, at the awards, one of the leading recipients of the Alumni Awards was the Vice Minister Mahendra Siga, who is a leading trade politician in Indonesia. Now, he got this award at the time of the banning of live cattle from Australia to Indonesia, a very, very big diplomatic and political issue between the countries. And at that meeting, I saw a very skillful performance by the Vice Minister, but also by Greg Moriarty, Australia's ambassador to Indonesia. And like all great skilled diplomats, Ambassador Moriarty, got Australia through a very, very difficult period, mainly because Indonesia and Australia have a very strong and understanding relationship, being so close together. Now, Indonesia is going through incredible change, becoming one of the world's largest democracies after the Asian financial crisis of 1997. It has many opportunities, it has a vast population, and it's very, very hard to govern democratically such a vast archipelago. But as we've learnt in recent incidents, it's important for Australian business to understand and be sensitive to Indonesia's cultural norms and cultural concerns. That would apply to business, and that probably should have applied to Lady Gaga too. Like all businesses, Lady Gaga could have been successful and entered Indonesia and had her concert successfully. She just had to put some pants on first.